Right, today I'm going to show you how to cover a cake dummy. These are made of polystyrene and you can use them again and again and again. So you can cover them, then you can take the icing off, wash them and use them and practice with them. So what we're going to do is cover it with sugar paste. So I'll show you how to attach it to a cake drum. So if we just get our cake drum, and the best way to attach it is with some royal icing so that when it dries really firm and then your cake dummy won't move about. So we just put some royal icing onto the drum, and if you just make some grooves in it like this, that will just help the air circulate and the icing will dry a little bit quicker. So we get hold of our drum, our dummy, and we stick it onto our drum. Just wiggle it like that and put some pressure on. Make sure it's in the centre. Now some of these dummies have quite sharp edges. If you've got one with the sharp edges, you can just soften them quite easily with your fingers like that on them. If you just do the corners, that will stop the icing cracking on the corner. So if you just push them down like that with your thumbs and your fingers, it just softens the edges for you. Right, and that is now attached to our drum. Now if you leave that to dry for a little while, then that won't move about when you're trying to cover it. Now we've let that dry just for a little while, we're ready to cover it. So to prepare it for covering, we just need to put some water onto it. So you just brush some ordinary water on all the way around the sides and along the top. Just like that. That just helps the sugar paste to stick to the cake dummy. We'll just move that out of the way and we'll bring in our sugar paste. And we now need to get this nice and smooth. So we're going to give this a really good knead. And what you need to do is, rather like you do bread, you bring it over and fold it back in on itself. This is getting heat into it, which will make it more pliable. And then when you put it over your cake, it will prevent cracking. So if you don't knead it at all and you just roll this out, don't be surprised if you don't get cracks and bumps and lumps in it, because it just won't be, you won't get a nice finish. Right, we're going to just check this. The way to see if it's ready is if you fold it over like this and it looks really nice and smooth on the top, then that is ready to roll out, because this is going to be the top on the top of your cake. So we just push this out a little so that we've got a little bit less to roll. Dust it with some icing sugar. Don't go too mad with it, you just want to stop it sticking. And just put a little drop on your non-stick rolling pin. Try and get as big a non-stick rolling pin as you can possibly invest in. Makes it a lot easier when you're doing a little bit bigger cake. You can do a larger quantity of sugar paste without having seams in it. There, so you just move it round. Try and keep the pressure all the same all the way round. If it feels like it's starting to stick, just roll it over your rolling pin and add a little bit more icing sugar. Don't go too mad with it, because the more icing sugar you use, the drier your sugar paste is going to become. We don't want to dry it out, we don't want to alter the consistency of it at all. Now I'm just going to bring in these marzipan spacers. These help you to get the sugar paste the same thickness all the way across. So if we just move those in, what you're going to do is roll down so that the rolling pin will hit these spacers, and then it makes the sugar paste the same thickness right the way across. Like that. And once you're down to that thickness, we need to try and get it quite square looking. Certainly got a nice funny shape there. Right, let's just roll that out and make sure that we've got that all level. Move those out of the way. I'm just going to give it a final roll to get rid of the finger marks in it. And then I'm just going to roll that back over my rolling pin and bring on the cake dummy. And then we just pick the sugar paste up, place it onto the cake board this side, roll it across the top of the cake dummy, And then with your rolling pin, just gently push it right the way across the dummy. You do this on a cake as well, it's exactly the same covering. And that will just push any air that you may have trapped out from under the sugar paste before you start attaching the sides. And then to attach the sides, just gently with your hands, you just cup the sugar paste. This part, fleshy part of your hands, is great for covering the cakes with. Don't put too much pressure on, don't push it like this. You want it to find its own way down. If you push it, you'll get cracks all the way down the sides here. So just go gently with it, let it just show it where it wants to go really. And if you just keep pulling the paste out like that and cupping it with your hands. So if you start to get a fold in it, you just pull it out like that and then go back to where you were. Once you get it right the way down to your cake drum like that, you can feel when you get to the drum because your hands will hit on the drum. There, we're nicely all the way around. Then we need smoothers. These are smoothers. You get two different shapes. You get one with the rounded edge. That's really good if you're doing novelty type cakes, so you can get into some crevices and unusual shapes. This one is just a conventional one that you can use to just bring your sugar paste right the way down to your board. But it's quite handy to have one of each because then you're covered for every eventuality really. Okay, so smooth across the top and then you push against the cake and down at the same time. So you're pushing against it and down like that until you get down to the bottom of the cake drum. And what that's doing is giving you a nice smooth finish and it's removing all the finger marks from it. So you've now got a lovely smooth even finish all the way around your cake, and that looks like a nice professional finish. There, just like that. Just check it's all nice and smooth all the way around. That looks good. And then with your hands, just give it a little polish up. That just makes it nice and shiny. Try not to put finger marks in it, you're just smoothing it off now, so keep your hand really flat. That's good. And then with a non-stick knife, we're just going to cut the sugar paste off at the bottom of the cake. So you cut all the way around like that, just removing the excess sugar paste. And around the front there. Around the side. And across the back. Like that. Remove the excess paste. And then all we need to do is to go around with our smoothers again. And we're just going to make sure that the bottom is really neat. So you just push in the bottom of the smoother. So I've got it at that sort of angle like that, so that you're just smoothing it off and making sure that it's nice and neat right the way around the bottom. There. And that is your cake dummy, or your cake, if that was your cake, covered down to the board.